Welcome to Shoot the Messenger. Today we're going to talk about everything except for politics. So today we're going to do something different. We're going to talk to Cassidy, who knows a little bit more about the culture on social media and TikTok and YouTube and those kind of things.
What can I say?
she's gonna be the gossip queen today and kind of fill us in on the popular subjects, I guess. So you want to fill us in on some of this Baldoni stuff you've been talking about?
Oh God, I won't shut up about it. John actually knows more about it than you do, which was
definitely
wonderful to hear about. Yeah. But no, so Justin Baldoni just came out with this website that has all of the text message proof of literally everything that him and Blake Lively talked about, between the personal trainer. Oh, yeah.
And so is that how this started? Is like a third party in this thing? Is it a cheating thing or what?
Not a cheating thing.
Yeah.
No.
So let me get this straight. These two are doing a movie together, right? All right. So who started saying what to who, or who kicked the dog, and who threw whose cat down the stairs, or what's going on here?
I've seen a couple of theories.
Theories?
Yes, theories about how this all started. Because obviously between the video proof that Justin has come out with, the text message proof that shows that they were completely okay and fine during the entirety of filming, there have been theories that either Blake Lively has been into him and he turned her down because they're both married, which there is that one kind of holds up a little bit more because she has been known to date her co-stars. I mean, Ryan Reynolds and her met in a movie, I believe. I forget what movie. But
and how long have those two been together? Do you know?
Like 12, 13 years, 15, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. At least that's just married. I don't know about dating included. But before that, she dated Penn Badgley. I don't remember. He was in Gossip Girl with her.
Okay.
So she's been known to just go on the train of dating her co-stars. So that's a theory. And so she's now retaliating because he basically denied her.
How did the whole thing come out? Did he release a bunch of stuff?
No.
She dropped? Who started this whole thing?
She went to New York Times, I believe, and published her complaint about everything. She sent that out to New York Times. And then they published it. And then everyone was telling her, well, sue him, do a lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. And then so she did. And then now he's like, okay, well, you're going to sue me. I'm going to bring out all of the proof that what you are saying is not at all accurate. Yeah.
So what? Okay, so they're doing a movie together. Okay. Everything's fine during the movie, and then afterwards, who started smearing whose name first?
Blake Lively said that Justin Baldoni did, but that's not true.
Did what?
Started a smear campaign for her.
I heard when I saw the media reports, it said sexual harassment.
Yeah, that was also a claim that she had put out there, but there was also text message proof that he had brought out.
Such as?
I forget.
But this is your arena.
I know, but that's a lot of information to store in my brain.
Okay.
Is there details as far as the sexual harassment goes? Do we know what supposedly he did? Or
went into her dressing room while she was breastfeeding. Him and others were talking about sex. I don't know if I can say that. I don't know. You can.
People have been having sex for thousands of years.
Really?
Yeah, you just can't say the F word.
That's
because the F word would get us in trouble on the big
freak.
Y.
Yeah.
Yeah, freak.
Freak.
Yeah. There you
go.
Let's see. So him and other men were talking about sex around her.
Yeah, doesn't that sound inappropriate? I mean, that's not cool. I mean, you as a woman, another thing too, let me back this up a tad bit.
Mm-hmm.
She's breastfeeding a baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your theory is that she's coming on to Baldoni because he's such a hot stud. No woman could resist him, right?
Yeah.
Right. Look at you smirking.
Yeah.
Now you're blushing.
Stop.
Yeah.
He's
So
cute.
yeah. Okay. So, but women that I know, most of them aren't, like when they've had a child, they're really not shopping for a new dude. They're more stressed out because of and she's working. Doesn't sound to me like the atmosphere that a woman would want to, cultivate a fling or have a tryst.
So there's multiple theories, right?
Yeah. What's it? I think that tone of the text message probably sets the rules the day.
Well, I will say that there is one text message screenshot where she told Baldoni that she is pumping, I think, not necessarily breastfeeding.
Yeah.
But to still come in and talk to her about whatever needed to be talked about.
Well, okay, but if a woman's quote pumping and she had on like a blanket over her, right? I've seen women breastfeed in restaurants that throw a blanket over themselves.
Yeah.
In a public restaurant. That's not like erotic.
Well, that's what Blake Lively put in her complaint, that he just walked in while she was doing that.
But in the text message, he was invited in.
Yes.
Okay, which means that somehow she's probably not remembering the facts too well.
I think that all of the theories that have come out with everyone having their own brain, right?
Yeah.
I think bits and pieces are definitely true. I say definitely as in allegedly, but whatever. Like, people say that Ryan Reynolds is very controlling, which has come out with some of his other exes, like Scarlett Johansson and what is that one woman's name who does the music, the breakup songs?
Which one? There's plenty of women that does breakup songs.
Taylor Swift.
No, it starts with an A.
Wait a minute.
She does all the breakups.
Is it? Sorry, Swifties, but I've never listened to one Taylor Swift song
I don't
ever.
like her.
Yeah.
Aren't they all about like how men disrespected her?
They're all about her breakups with her boyfriends.
I don't appreciate her or her music.
She pretty much writes every song about her exes.
Yeah.
So basically, she just dates to get material.
That's
material.
always what I've said.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, pretty
yes.
much.
Damn.
And she's friends with Blake Lively, and it has been mentioned in said lawsuit.
Guilty. She's also.
Now she's been mentioned, huh?
And Taylor Swift is friends with Lana Del Rey.
Is
then
she?
There's a connection there.
I don't think that she's. Is she?
Taylor Swift is good friends with Lana Del Rey.
Yeah.
Never seen that.
Yep. When she won, Taylor Swift won her awards, she invited Lana Del Rey up on stage, and they're buddies. No?
I don't know. I just
the Swifties.
I don't care for Taylor Swift, and I'm gonna get screamed at in the comments at some point.
That's all right. Some people like Taylor Swift, and some people don't.
Hey, you know what? It is whatever. Not everybody's gonna like everybody, but
that's what I'm saying.
But at the same point in time, I mean, it definitely sounds like you're definitely on the defense team for Baldoni.
Oh, 110%.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but that
ride or die.
But in the eyes of the law,
she's on the
you have to be like the blind woman holding the scales, because justice is blind. You have to weigh it out. Okay. So it sounds to me like somebody kicked somebody's cat, and somebody let the dog out, and somebody got their feelings hurt. And next thing, somebody's trying to smear somebody.
Yeah.
And next thing, there's a big old fat lawsuit. I mean, isn't the lawsuit at $400 million?
I believe it's either 400 or 300.
Wow.
Okay, that's Justin Baldoni suing for that amount, and that's their entire net worth. The two of them. That's yeah.
Yeah, to sue them
petty.
to sue them for every living dime they got. Because his reputation has been smeared.
I would be mad too if it's not true. I'd be really upset if all this is made up. I I'd be going after him too. You're
that
not going to
is
ruin
why.
my whole life because you guys have some kind of weird plan.
Yeah, but if that's the case, let's
You know?
let's roll it back here. Now,
So
let's take a look at another like famous case that happened: Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
Amber Heard,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Initially, you're looking at her and you think of this woman was been brutalized by this evil, successful, highly talented, suave drug addict who, and what basically what it boils down to is she's a narcissistic psychopath, a narcissistic female psychopath, and he was in an abusive relationship. Yeah, he's got substance abuse problems, but he was not abusing her, and she's just lying through her teeth. So between somewhere in this mix, I think this is battle of the narcissistic, titans. Yeah, no, help me out here.
Are we still talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, or
I'm comparing because the thing is, you're on Team Baldoni,
mm-hmm.
right? Initially, like when Amber Heard and the Johnny Depp thing, she like tanked his career. Mm-hmm. And his career got tanked because all the things she was saying, he couldn't. Automatically, when you're a man and a woman says something bad about you, you're automatically guilty, mm-hmm. right? And then lo and behold, we got to see the real Amber Heard in court, right? And all the evidence came out. And you know what? She was full of poppycock. Mm-hmm. She's lying.
Yeah.
She exaggerated stories. She did this to smear him because she wanted to hurt him really bad. And the reality of the thing was, yeah, Mr. I don't know the man personally. I mean, I have great respect for him. I think he's a hell of an actor, mm-hmm. right? A highly talented guy. But at the same point in time, the man's struggling with addiction issues, just like, Martin Downey Jr., the one who played Iron Man.
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey. I'm sorry. Yeah. Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
Okay. He focused himself into martial arts and he overcame his addictions and another highly talented individual. And at the same point in time, I mean, it sounds to me like Amber, she was a vampire. She took advantage of the situation. So, let's think about this. A woman has had a kid. She's breastfeeding. She's working on set. And does Baldoni have a reputation for being a womanizer?
Mm-mm.
No?
No, he is very... He's not that high on the list of celebrities.
Yeah, I don't even know who the dude is.
Yeah.
Oh, we all know now.
Mm-hmm. I have no clue who that dude is.
Yeah,
I'm Team Ryan because I'm a Ryan Reynolds fan.
Yeah.
So like right away, I was like, "Oh, go Ryan!" But I know nothing about the whole thing.
I didn't even.
That's just me picking sides.
I didn't even know Mr. Reynolds was married to Blake Lively.
Oh, okay.
See, because I don't know these things. Yeah. That's why we have you on, because you're the expert, right? You educate us because we just don't know.
Yeah. I try my hardest.
So as these guys are working on this set, did anybody during this period of time follow like sexual harassment, protocol and complain to the director, producer, or HR department, or file a formal complaint during the production?
It's a good question.
Justin Baldoni is the director and producer and the lead.
Okay. Now we have us a problem.
Well, Blake Lively was also a producer. There ended up being a huge team meeting and Ryan Reynolds was there, and it just basically ended up, allegedly, with Ryan Reynolds screaming at Justin Baldoni. Allegedly.
I wonder why.
So is this whole thing really just Blake likes Baldoni? She got caught flirting with Baldoni. So now she's trying to cover her own tracks with her husband?
I think so.
Is that what all this really is?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that
wow, that was some expensive flirting.
Mm-hmm.
No,
$400 million.
Literally.
She feels dumb she got caught.
Well, okay. It's either that or Justin has been working on this movie for like 5 years, right? He has been in talks with Colleen Hoover that whole time, who's the author of the book. He's been studying abusive relationships, anything that has to do with that book. He has been studying the awfulness of relationships. So someone else had theorized that he had noticed everything about Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and realized that Ryan Reynolds might not be the fun kind of guy that he really is. And Blake Lively started confiding in him. And then Ryan Reynolds found out, and then boom, lawsuit, complaint, everything.
In other words, what you're saying is Blake Lively had an emotional affair, engaged in an emotional affair with Baldoni.
No,
but usually with women, if they're confiding in another man and they're talking about like, well, my husband's this, or my boyfriend's this, my boyfriend's that, and they start forming a bond with another male, that's what I would start to lean into. Correct me if I'm wrong,
I agree,
sir. That's an emotional affair. Mm-hmm. It's not a physical affair. It's starting to become an emotional affair. And usually emotional affairs, if they go on long enough, turn it into a physical thing that happens.
Yeah, and women a lot of times move on emotionally way before they move on physically. Mm-hmm. So it's...
In other words, that's the first steps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I was thinking, the more you were talking about this, the more I was thinking, it sounds to me like Blake might actually started to like Baldoni. Baldoni's like, listen, I got text, I got proof, and now every time this stuff comes out, I bet Ryan's just side-eyeing.
Literally.
Blake.
Like, literally.
What is that? What is that? You know what I mean? Like, and that's a weird situation to be in, because you want to have, it's kind of like the, without switching subject, it's like the J-Lo situation with Affleck. When J-Lo got caught on all those Diddy tapes.
Oh, yeah.
He left her. He said, I can't be with you.
A famous talk show. It's a liberal talk show. I can't say the name, but let's say Trump sued the guy. And Ben Affleck was on, and Ben Affleck is an extremely intelligent man. I think he's a great actor. He starred in a movie about a CIA operative that goes into Iran and pulls out some American embassy workers who got out of the embassy before the Iranians captured them. They ended up becoming hostages, and it was this crazy scheme that they worked up that actually worked. It was based on a real story, right? Mm-hmm. It's a true story, and I have a lot of respect for military. And yeah, there's a lot of people out there like the CIA's evil. Well, you know what? The CIA's done a lot of things. The FBI's done a lot of things where there's been real bad actors. People that want to do this country a lot of harm, and those folks, men and women, put their lives in line. So Ben Affleck portrayed the guy that got these people out, and he started getting some crap for it on this liberal talk show. And Affleck, in my opinion, started going off the hook a little bit too much. And the more I looked at it, I could tell Affleck had been drinking. In my opinion, he was never on the show ever again. So he was just like gone. Mm. But he was always a regular all the time. You'd see him on this talk show a lot. But kind of the catch-22 is people, whether they're famous or not, get into relationships, and everybody starts off with the best of intentions, and all the chemistry is there, the relationship's going great. Then you start introducing things like careers, babies, stress,
baby oil,
with ecstasy put into it, mm-hmm. Ketamine too, for a kicker. Yeah. Right.
Sounds like a fun time.
I imagine it's probably a great time. So, but you know what?
Yeah. That's what they heard.
That's what I heard. Yeah. But if you really think about this, this situation between these two people doing this film has now exploded into a $400 million lawsuit. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty serious thing. I mean, suing people ain't cheap. Trust me, I've done it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It costs money, and to be dragging, putting your name on the line and saying this is what happened and this person, did X, Y, and Z to me. Your laundry's out there just like their laundry is. Mm-hmm. So this is a pretty big thing. I mean, normally in corporate America, this would just result in somebody just leaving the company, getting fired, or somebody being reprimanded to the point that they were transferred to another division and don't come back to this division anymore, or a no contact order. But in the magic world of Hollywood, it turns into a $400 million lawsuit.
Yeah.
Just to give you some perspective, that's 100 million shy of $500 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of ditch.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And in Hollywood, I mean, a lot of them mingle amongst each other. So there's a lot of stuff that's on behind the scenes that we don't necessarily know. So we see the stuff that comes out. We see I think just being married in Hollywood is probably already a pain in the butt because of how much partying and mingling they do amongst each other.
Yeah, but
and and it's like a lot of them find themselves in compromising positions, and then the next thing you know, they're in the media and all this. A lot of it would be, could you imagine? I mean, we live normal lives every day amongst everybody else, and so, but imagine if every time you did something, they threw it on the news. That'd be insane.
TMZ would like. I'm going to imagine British tabloids to have a heyday with me.
Yeah, exactly.
John seen stumbling out of a nightclub with a glass of Cabernet in his hand.
Exactly.
With a blonde.
Exactly.
For me, it'd be like Cassidy leaves Walmart with a new book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yes. But in the Hollywood thing, and I think that Hollywood is kind of a reflection a lot on Americana itself. People go into marriages and whether they're famous or not, and you go into a marriage, you go into a relationship, and nobody goes into it and say, hey, you know what, let's work at making this real and keeping together and growing together as the years and the months. Because, I mean, keeping a relationship together, it's moment by moment. You could have a relationship go for 3 years and go to a restaurant and be, doing something, staring at something you're not supposed to be staring at. And guess what? That's a pivotal point in that marriage, or there's the other partner starts gaining some weight or this or that, their body changes or something changes and you make a stupid comment, and you're not growing together anymore. Things just like with people in these Hollywood marriages, they're away from each other long periods of time. They're just because you're around other people who are like driven people and they're good looking people, sure, there's always a lot of temptation around, but you got to be open-minded to have it happen to go for it. So, Baldoni and Blake Lively were co-producing this thing together. There had to have been some type of a friendship or relationship that was solid enough to enter into a business relationship, because that's a high-stress thing.
I don't think that she was supposed to be a producer in the first place. I think that she fought to have that, if I remember correctly.
What movie is this?
It ends with us.
It's about domestic violence abuse, correct?
That's what it's supposed to be about, but Blake Lively's edit of the movie came out instead of Justin Baldoni's, and now everyone is all like, did he really even abuse her? They all look like accidents. And it's true. In the movie, it all looks like true accidents. It irritates me.
That's kind of disrespectful and there are so many women out there that I know that have suffered domestic violence.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and that's so disrespectful for a woman to whitewash it, because I mean there are so many instances. I mean, I had a friend of mine. She was with a guy. She went for looks and she stayed with him. He was beating on her constantly, right? And I was like mentoring that situation constantly. And eventually she did get out of it when he burned her really bad, right? And it kind of went into a kind of climactic event. And then that was enough for her and she was done. I mean, everybody gets their point where they beat the love out of you. But the thing is, why women stay in abusive relationships when they're physically abusive, because they're so enthralled with the man, or there's something about it, like they can fix him. I mean, in my opinion, and I'll just say this on, state of fact, men that abuse women are like a spoiled little boy having a tantrum, and with no governors on. And some of them are just, I've heard sadistic stories, all kinds of stories. But the thing is, for such an important movie to be made like this, to get it so you're so confused by the end of the movie, you can't tell if that was abuse or not abuse, sounds to me like it just like diffused the whole purpose of the story.
Exactly. It did.
And that just brings great discredit to the author who wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
And the author who wrote it, let me guess, is probably a survivor of domestic violence.
I think her mom is, and that's why she wrote it.
Yeah.
Colleen Hoover's come out with a lot of great books. They're all really sad, really wonderful books. A lot of people don't like her right now. Don't know why. Haven't looked into that one, so don't ask. But
okay. I don't know who she even is. You're the expert.
I know, but so it ends with us got me back into reading. So that's why I'm so passionate about the movie itself, not necessarily even the drama surrounding it, but I literally ranted for 30 minutes about how awful this edit was of this movie compared to the book. It was absolutely horrendous, I think.
So is this going to end up on Court TV, like the
I
Amber
really
Heard
hope
trial
so.
and all that?
I really hope so. Sorry, John, I will be watching it.
Don't look
in
at
my
me.
office
I enjoyed the Johnny
every
Depp
day.
Amber Heard thing. I could tell she was lying through her teeth. She's like, there's no tears coming out of her.
Blake Lively.
I remember Amber Heard. Which one was it that was putting a napkin or
That's her.
The internet was like that she was doing like
cocaine.
You know. Oh, we can't say that because it's Disney rated. It's something probably like that, but we didn't say the name.
They definitely
some kind of white substance powder.
Did. Yeah.
You think she was doing a little,
definitely
flour, sugar.
Yeah, you can see it.
Well, back in Chicago, it's got Tudaruski.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Don't they call it skiing? Just randomly off the top.
There's all kinds of like slang terms, but she seemed a little more perky.
Yeah.
As she started crying, with no tears.
Well, she said they had a jar of cocaine that used to sit on their living room table, on their, it was literally that's what they do. They in Hollywood.
So basically, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp,
they were
two dysfunctional, angry cokeheads.
Yes.
With too much money and too much fame and power.
That's the thing. Everyone hates Amber, and I don't blame them. She was lying through her teeth. The thing that people just seem to forget is Johnny is pretty big mess himself.
Yeah.
It's just
but he holds it together.
Yeah, that whole entire dynamic between their relationship, you can just put them in the same house and imagine that is absolute. I mean, you see her going up to when he's out of town, Elon Musk going up to her room with her. You know what I mean? Like
there was an elevator footage.
I don't remember that.
Oh, no, I saw it.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm Elon Musk. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
I hope
it says the vehicle out.
Hey, we're not mad, Elon. We're not mad.
We're not mad.
Yeah.
Get those cuts going to the government.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but he's like hugging on her. It was like a date that was like trying to go somewhere, right? Kind of thing. We started hugging her. I mean, it was kind of like coming onto the elevator kind of thing. But I think the moral of the story is, right, is that she, lashed out at him and was out to destroy him and flipping the coin around. You're saying that Lively's out to destroy Baldoni.
Oh, 110%.
Okay.
She said that Baldoni started the smear campaign for her, which in reality, again, Justin pulled out text message proof saying, like, who started this? And they're just like, I don't know, the internet. Everyone was hating on Blake Lively before the movie even came out. It was just continuous hating on Blake Lively. And then she came out with that complaint.
She kind of has an unlikable face. I'm not going to lie.
I
don't know what it is about
She is very proud of herself for her wardrobe in the movie. Mm. And it's awful.
Yeah.
It's not at all what should have been the wardrobe. She was very adamant that she had her own wardrobe. And it was so bad. It was so bad.
I hate hearing about like character flaws with people in Hollywood because it's like, you see these people and you're like, wow, what a great actor or what a great actress. And you kind of paint this picture in your head. And then you hear these stories behind the scenes and you're like, man, well, like I heard the most unlikable, who was it? They were talking about the most unlikable person in Hollywood that nobody could work with. And I want to say it's, what's his name? No, it wasn't Tobey Maguire. But somebody, I cannot think of his name, but it was somebody to where every time they'd have him on, like behind to the camera to do a scene, he'd be like, no, I don't like what you wrote. I'll rewrite it and then I'll do it. And they were like Edward Norton. Edward Norton, they were having that problem with Edward Norton. He thought he was a way better actor than everybody he was on screen with all the time and wanted to only do things his way. And so Edward Norton being one of my favorite actors, I was kind of like heartbroken to hear that, because I'm like, dude, he's an excellent actor. So to find out that he's just like that in person is just kind of a bummer to me. He was on, what's the Edward Norton movie? He was on American History X. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen that movie? Yeah. Why are you laughing? Have you seen it?
I've seen parts and pieces of it, enough to know that a little creepy.
It's a ruthless movie, yeah.
I only
but it's one of his more famous movies.
I only laugh because we don't have the same taste in movies. We've established that completely. And so every single time you mention a movie, I just think like, nope, still don't know it.
And it was probably out before you were even born. So that's a lot of the issues too.
Now wait a minute.
Older movie.
How old is this movie? 90s?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe he's got a point. Yeah. Okay, so moving right along.
I actually have a different topic that I want to ask you about and your thoughts and opinions. It's music.
What's that?
The Grammys.
Yeah.
How Kendrick Lamar won 5 Grammys for his diss track for Drake.
Yeah. That's a lot of drama, because the diss track that he made was on someone on his own team. So
it's a wonderful song.
It would almost in our world, it would be like me and Casey suing each other because we're having issues over film work or something. That's like what it would be like, because they're both on UMG, Universal Music Group, and they are the umbrella that owns Kendrick and Drake. Drake is their baby. Like he doesn't even, when they ask how much money he has, the label says he has an open bank account. Whatever he wants, he gets. That's why he built the biggest house out there in freaking Toronto. That's why he can build whatever he wants. His house has got everything because he has an unlimited income, right? So him being the go-to guy on the label, Kendrick going after him was like going after the boss's kid. It was like, dude, you don't do that. So when that happened,
best choice ever.
So when that happened, and Kendrick really went after him and started making all those accusations and all that stuff about the people he hung out with, that really got spun out of control. To now Drake wants to sue Kendrick because he's like, he's not even suing Kendrick. It'd be like us suing Boss Man, because it's like, oh, we're fighting, but you started this for a publicity stunt. Now my whole life's ruined, right? And that's how he feels. So he's very jealous, very petty right now, very upset about the whole situation. Kendrick being, I don't know about getting all those Grammys for a diss track. And at the end of the day, it's like, that was all just a big stunt to begin with.
That song was my #1 played song this past year.
I thought it was interesting. I'm glad that Drake's run's over.
I just think
Drake's been around for too long. He's getting on my nerves.
I wish that there was a reality show for Drake while he was just sitting at home watching the Grammys. Watching that reaction would have been wonderful.
That'd be interesting. Imagine Drake having his own podcast or something. That'd be weird, dude. Because no one likes him.
Exactly.
It'd be so weird.
It would still blow up, though, because no one likes him.
Well, because even when no one likes Drake,
they still are going to watch it
tomorrow. It's still going to be huge. He still has, even the people that don't like him are still part of his base. He's always going to have those people that are like, it's like people like me that are like, I can't stand Drake. Does he have good songs? Yeah, he's got some cool tracks.
Some.
Do I buy his albums? No. Do I like most of his songs? No. But do I hear songs that I like? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I remember first time I heard "Started from the Bottom," I thought it was a tight song. I liked "Energy." I still like "Energy" a lot. He has a handful. When I say a handful, my 5 to 10 songs that I really like. But for the most part, none of them are like the Hotline Bling songs. I'm not into the poppy songs he makes too much, but I do like some of his music. his own shows now, stadium shows, people are like trolling him at the shows. Crowds are singing that song.
Mm-hmm.
He goes into a club. His own DJ one day was playing that song. Like, it's just ruining his life. Everywhere he goes, he can't get away from it.
It's great.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
absolutely wonderful.
But it couldn't have happened to a better person. I think we're at a point where everybody is like, hey, that's enough, Drake.
Mm-hmm.
It's into. But that leads me to something we can ask Boss Man here. How the heck did you get into trance music?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're curious.
I just it activates the alpha waves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Gets you kind of thinking, and I've liked it ever since. Like the first time I heard electronic music in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, and it morphed in the early 2000s. You know, like Darude and different trance vocals. Always liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
So, but you say, so what did you listen to when you were younger?
Like what age bracket? Because I'm like old, like vampire old now.
Like, I mean, like just growing up, like in the, like my mom growing up, my mom liked what's her name, Fleetwood Mac a lot. She liked,
when I was real young, I wasn't allowed to listen to music at all. It was all like hippie and drug addict music.
Yeah.
So if I was listening, I would get smacked for listening to music.
Yeah.
And then I got a transistor radio for a gift, and then I would have it like when I would go to sleep, and like Sonny and Cher and like Led Zeppelin. I mean, it just Stevie Wonder. I mean, the Funkadelic, the Ohio Players.
Yeah.
I mean, it just opened up a whole new world to me.
Yeah.
Always been a music
I like a
lover.
lot of that music that you just said. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I was born in the mid 70s, like late 70s, but at the end of the day, if I would have grown up in that era, in the 70s soul era, I would have been in heaven, because I love that music. And I'm not even from that era, but like I love old soul music, and it's like my favorite. So
I remember most of the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Most of it.
Kind of a blur.
A lot of fun in the 80s. Yeah. I remember most of the 80s.
Man, I was tiny in the 80s, man.
Because,
I was telling her I used to run around my neighborhood at like 3 years old by myself. I'd walk a mile to my friend's house when I was 3.
I was doing that kind of stuff too.
I know, and it's so weird that you can't do that nowadays.
Well, you know why? It's because we morphed into a society that, where you have so much visual things for people to look at that help to warp their mind at young ages.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was growing up, TV was not sexualized.
No.
At all. No.
Yeah.
Not sexualized at all. Now, I mean, you can, Disney movies have adult jokes in them.
Yeah.
And, kids aren't, stupid. They may pick up on that. So you're sexualizing TV, sexualizing, things that children are watching, and you're activating, I think it's scientific here, but I'm just going to do it. You're activating like hormonal levels and different things at early stages of the game, coupled with the food supply that we have. And Time Magazine did an article about how girls are going into puberty at young ages and what's causing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the food supply. And so you couple all these things, and you couple young men being desensitized playing video games, and young women too, being desensitized at early ages. It has an impact on the mind. And by the time you're 15, 20 years old, the stage is set. I mean, kids are losing their virginity in 5th and 6th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade.
Yeah, I remember
I've heard stories like that.
I remember being in middle school and hearing about the 8th grade girls that were like being promiscuous and thinking, 8th grade. I mean, that's 8th grade. I mean, nowadays
that's old nowadays.
Exactly, and that's what I'm getting at. People would be like, nowadays 8th grade. That's. I'm like, what do you mean that's older? That's when I was in middle school. We were tiny little kids, and I was kind of a late bloomer, so I can speak for myself when I say a tiny little kid. I was literally 4'11" going into high school, and I weighed 95 pounds. I was a tiny little kid who was not ready for anything that was adult-like at all at that point in my life. So, but I do remember the girls growing up way faster than us. I remember being in 6th grade, and all the tallest kids in the school were the girls. Yeah.
Well, that too, and more and more I study biology nowadays. The the food supply. I mean, if you look at like say chicken meats and things that we eat, there's steroids and growth hormones dumped in there so that the livestock will grow quicker, right? So you're ingesting all these things, and you're giving it to your kids, and what do you have them do? They're in front of the screen, or they're playing video games. So how are their minds developing? What are we developing here? We're doing it's all primitive parts of the brain.
Yeah, and
It's not anything where it's higher level thinking.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, there was a movie that came out. It was a super cool movie about a bank robber that walls himself up in a bank. And in the movie, he has a child. It's one of the hostages of the bank. And the young man's playing a video game. And the bank robber goes, "Can I see what you're playing?" And he shows it to him, and they pop it up on the screen. He goes, young man. He goes, "What is this?" He goes, "Oh, it's a game." He goes, "You get points for doing dirt." And it shows another individual coming to another individual and sticking a grenade in his mouth and shooting him in the head and stabbing him, and he rips off a car. And he goes, and the kid goes, "You get points for doing dirt."
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so what is that teaching that young man? So it's no big surprise, like, why it's not safe to let your kids, because for the last 30, 40 years, we've been sexualizing this generation, and now they're in their late 20s and their early 30s, and their late teens and their mid 20s, and and pedophiles and predators come at all ages. But I mean, you don't have to sit there and tiptoe around and go to some store that has a blue light on. You just throw on the TV or go to the internet, and you get anything you're looking for.
Oh yeah.
So, and there's no governors on it. So
yeah,
and and it kind of goes at what the media, again, you feed the masses different forms of every day being bombarded by different types of, like, well, this is what makes a successful person. They have ripped abs, they got a V, right? They got a hot car, they got all the hot women, right? And they get multiple. And what does it teach young men to do? Does it teach them to go out and get a high paying career and have a great car, or does it teach them that you can go out and and do dirt and make it? Do you see what I'm saying? We're glamorizing things through the media and through TV and different things that the kids are looking at, and all of a sudden the little brains are like, "Wow, I want to do that. Oh, that's cool." And my generation, I mean, who were the heroes? All the astronauts that went to the moon, or the astronauts. I mean, I was 12 years old. I wanted to go join NASA. I was ready to do it, right? I mean, now you bring that to some younger group of people, like, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. I want to be an influencer. I want to be this. I want to be that. Or now the new thing, for women in media, I mean, getting yourself on a platform and sexualizing yourself. And yeah, there's women that are making crazy money doing it, but what message is that sending for this generation to go to the next generation? Who are their heroes going to be?
Yeah.
And so when you roll it back to why is it not safe for kids to go to school? Because we've normalized ill behavior. It's normalized.
We've just, the internet caused everyone to be anxious. Like the whole 7-second attention span thing, I think falls into almost everything you just said. And people wanting to be an influencer and be rich overnight. People want to everything now. At home, I remember when I was young, I never shopped as a kid. I didn't even know what that was. My mom did the shopping. I didn't know what shopping was. I didn't go online and look at stuff to buy when I was 9. Like I didn't even know what, like, they didn't exist. So now our 9-year-old daughter has her own Amazon card, is on Amazon all the time, looking at what she wants to buy all the time, and for me, I just feel like that creates instant gratification.
It also
and it
doesn't.
makes people anxious because they want stuff now,
It does a little bit more than that.
and that's what bugs me.
To me, I feel like that creates the sense of not knowing how much money is worth.
Yeah,
that does that too. But the other thing too, with a gambling addict, and maybe some professionals out, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you get like the slot machine going and the bling bling bling, and then you get the adrenaline rush. So when she's looking, or kids are looking at the internet, they can buy things because they already have a card or they have ability to do it. That's a rush. It's like a shopaholic. It's easy to be a shopaholic at an early age.
Exactly.
Back in my day, you got the Sears catalog. Besides looking at the reserve section, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. That's what young men did. You would look. You'd go right to the toys, and I'd be like pointing out to my parents, "This is what I want you to buy." Santa Claus wants this. Santa Claus wants that. Right. There was no instant. You had there was a delay.
That's what I did. Was my mom got like the Macy's or even the Amazon little pamphlet thing, and I would circle what I wanted.
And did she buy you everything you wanted?
No, not everything. She was a single mother, and we lived in Upper Washington, where it's way too expensive for a single mother who wasn't making everything in the world.
And that's kind of my point, is you shouldn't get everything you want.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
I did get a lot of things that I wanted.
They can't be raised in a sense where they go, oh, I want that, I get that. I'm so used to getting that. Everything I want, I get.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they get older and people are like, no. And they're like, what do you mean no? And you're like,
and that's when you get problems.
Yeah, and I said no. And you're like, so I wasn't raised that way at all. I've actually thought to myself before, are you upset that you didn't get nothing when you were growing up and now you're being petty as you got older because now you're watching kids get everything they want at the snap of a finger? Or Toby, are you just concerned that it's going to make them grow up to be entitled human beings who expect too much, right? So sometimes I'm like, I don't even know. I don't know if it's me being damn, it wasn't like that when I was growing up, or if it's just my concern on their well-being as they grow older. I want them to be good human beings, and I don't want them to be let down all the time because they don't get whatever they want. Because my kids, they're grown now, and you just heard Kay say earlier, have your kids ever even been in trouble before? My kids were raised a certain way, and they don't do bad stuff. And not only that, I don't have to tell them that. They were raised that way. They know. My kids know what's right and what's wrong. You know what I mean? And they don't expect things. If there's one thing that came out of it for me is maybe I could have been a little strict at times, because my kids sometimes I feel like are afraid to ask me for stuff nowadays, now that they're older. And I'm like, why don't you ask me? But I feel like, oh, I don't want to bother dad with that, because I never really, it was like, if you're going to bug me at the store when we were growing up, I might be like, hey, don't ask for anything at the store type stuff. We were younger, right? And so it's just, we all raised different, and we all act different. But I feel like at the end of the day, having things be your way all the time, and then this new internet world that we live in where everything is just a click away, it's definitely made people a little more like, I don't know, I say anxious because people don't want to wait for anything anymore. It makes everybody wants things now, has to be done now, or I don't want it. We run a podcast, and if you look at the, how long people watch, you can look at each video and you can see how long people's attention spans are. It could be a really interesting video, and you can just see people, they just get to a point where they're like, I can't do this anymore. I've been sitting in this one spot staring at this. But then I look all day, and what do people do all day long? They stare at their phone all day long, but they can't look at one video for more than 7 seconds.
I watch like videos that are like 2 hours long. I'm not gonna lie.
I personally can myself.
Yeah.
I want to start doing movie recommendations on this episode. This guy's definitely a movie buff. I love movies. I watch movies. I don't remember them, unfortunately. So I don't. I watch a movie. It's gone the minute it's over. I don't remember it happening barely.
You can blame that on the 90s.
Yeah, yeah. I literally don't have any kind of memory for movies. It's why I don't read books. Growing up, I couldn't read books because as soon as I'm past the page, the page disappears, and I don't remember what was on that page.
That bothers me.
I
so
only
much.
read and watch in the present, and I can't lock it in my brain for some reason.
I've been listening to an audiobook in there for like the whole week, and I'm still like, wow, this is so good, and I can remember everything.
That's like me with true crime. I listen to a true crime podcast. I know every character. I know where they all live, what kind of cars they all drive, what their kids' names are, where they live. Like, I know everything. And people are like, how do you know all that? I only know like information that I don't care about. Because I'm like listening to this. I'm like,
read.
So it's weird, huh?
But you can't read.
I can't read and acknowledge what I'm reading. No, that's always been an issue for me growing up. I can't soak it in, I guess would be the word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to remember. Like if you give me a quiz on the page I just wrote, I'm gonna be like, I read it, but I don't really know what it said.
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Pretty interesting. But movie recommendations. You got any, John? What do you think?
What the stuff that's come out or
no, just in general. What's one of your favorite movies of all time?
Oh, geez, a favorite movie all time. There's a couple of them. Inside Man comes to mind.
Great. You know what's so funny about that? That movie popped in my head too. That's why it's weird you said that. Yeah, because
first Pink Pony Club, now this.